Have you heard the saying, a stitch in time saves nine? Do you know what that means? Hi, I'm Marianne with my sister and me Ministries, and I welcome you to this week's Face-to-Face Friday. Jen and I are working through a series called A Time for Everything. And throughout this series, we've been playing with the word time. And it made me think of that saying, that old proverb, a stitch in time saves nine. What it really means is that if we attend to the things that are small but yet important, demanding our attention in the moment, then we can avoid a catastrophe or something that would take much more time in the future. I shared a story earlier this week about a favorite pair of slacks that I have, and the seam in the waist was starting to come out, and I didn't stop to just put that one little stitch in, and I went ahead and wore the slacks throughout the day, and anyway, arrived home in the evening and still fully clothed, thank goodness, but the seam in the waist had gone down to the lower seam, and so instead of doing the one stitch that could have saved me a whole bunch of time and effort throughout the day, I ended up having to reconstruct that waistband seam. So it took a lot more work. Anyway, that's my little embarrassing story to share with you. But it's to the point of this week's message, a stitch in time saves nine. There are all kinds of things that demand our attention in any given day. And, we can get pulled and distracted or put something off. And many times, I know because I'm guilty too, we end up putting off the thing that would potentially help us the most in the moment because we're busy helping and serving other people, doing our jobs, making sure everything is taken care of and done for others. And many times we leave ourselves last. And so in this message this week, I do want to encourage you to take that time to take care of those little things, even in your life, your personal life, that are important to you, whether it be a seam in a pair of slacks, or maybe it's doing a 10-minute strength training, or scheduling in some meal planning, or something that will help you order your steps and save some time by doing the simple, easy things now, as opposed to pushing it off. There's another saying, do it now. I sometimes recite that in my own head to encourage me or get me up to do the thing that is needing my attention in the moment. I do want to share with you a couple of scriptures. So Psalm 90 verse 12 says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. So this is the psalmist crying out to God, teach us to number our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. As we approach our daily tasks or weekly or monthly, maybe you've set some annual goals. It's important that we take time to spend with God in prayer, to ask Him to give us wisdom. In James chapter 1, he tells us, ask God for wisdom. He will give it generously to us. Who is wiser than Almighty God, the creator of the universe? He holds all things, and He is all truth. And so for sure we need to stop and pray and go to God and ask for that wisdom. Help us, Lord, to order our steps and to plan our days according to His will, so that we can have His wisdom and approach the things that matter most first. There's a couple of other scriptures I wanted to share with you today. In Ephesians chapter 5 verses 15 and through 17, Paul writes, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. How can we know the will of the Lord if we're not in His Word, if we don't seek Him in prayer? He will lead us in pathways of righteousness for his name's sake, for his glory, and for our good. Colossians chapter 4, verse 5 also encourages us to use the best of our time. You may have heard the phrase, redeem the time. It just means make use of the time that we have. We all have the same 24 hours. We all have the same amount of time. Are we overloading our schedules? Again, guilty? Or are we realistic in planning out our days and going to God and asking him for help in ordering our days? Proverbs chapter 4, verse 26 says, carefully consider the path of your feet, and all your ways will be established. And Proverbs 16, verse 9 says, in their hearts, humans plan their course. We make plans, but the Lord establishes their steps. God will establish our steps. So again, just a quick overview about how we can approach our daily tasks, monthly tasks. We really do first need to assess. Write down everything that's demanding our time. Write down the things that you want to accomplish or the things that are important to you. Make that list and then present it to God. Sit down and pray. Ask God for wisdom. Ask him to show you what's most important, or even creative ideas on how to approach something. Rate the list that you've made so that you can order your steps accordingly. 3 is to plan. Identify the steps required to best accomplish the things that are on that list, to utilize the best, or to use the best, to make the best use of your time. So you assign the list, create those tasks, and 4 would be to act. Do the simple now to avoid the complicated later. Conquer that list. You know, on that pair of slacks, had I paused to make that one little stitch, it would have saved me not only the hassle of having a raveling waistband throughout the day, but also the hour of time it took and the skill it took, because I am not a seamstress, to mend that raveling seam at the end of the day. So this week, Jen and I, we are praying for you. We just encourage you that you would seek the face of God, seek him in his word, ask for wisdom, and as you do approach your to-do list on any given day or week or month, that you ask God for wisdom in showing you what's most important. How can I be creative in approaching these tasks? And what are the simple things I need to do today in order to avoid the catastrophes that may ensue? So I leave you with this question. What stitch can we make today to avoid the chaoses that could erupt in our tomorrows? Ladies, we love you. We thank you for joining us each week for Face to Face Friday, and we encourage you to hold fast to hope.